Good afternoon, my name is Michael Drescher and I'm a Vice Chair for the 2020 Associates class. I served as the team mentor for the Off the Shelf team. This year, Off the Shelf partnered with the IT Management and Modernization Community of Interest, doing a comparative analysis of IT modernization legislation in different countries. Now I'd like to pass it over to a member of the team to speak more about their great work on this issue.
My name is Lauren Smith. I'm a member of Off the Shelf. Off the Shelf adapted our associate case study project from the IT Management and Modernization COI's Analysis of IT Legislation Initiative. With the help of our team mentor, Michael Drescher, and the COI advisor, Vera Ashworth, we were able to identify 3 key pieces of U.S. IT legislation to center our analysis around. Those key pieces of legislation were the Federal Information Technology Acquisition Reform Act, the Modernizing Government Technology Act, and the 21st Century Integrated Digital Experience Act. We used the primary objectives of each piece of legislation to identify comparable pieces of legislation or digital government strategies in countries outside of the U.S. The outcome of our research was a report titled An Analysis of U.S. Legislation and Evaluation of Global Digital Government Implementation. The report provides a summary of each piece of U.S. IT legislation, as well as an overview of how countries have implemented similar legislation and digital government strategies, their outcomes, the commonalities they shared with the U.S. IT legislation implementation approach, and how they could potentially inform future legislation implementation efforts in the U.S. We were very grateful for the opportunity to support the ITM&M COI, and we hope the work that we put into this report aids future efforts around the COI's analysis of IT legislation.
It's now my pleasure to introduce the graduates from the Off the Shelf team. Wyatt Burgess, Juliana Dixon, Stephanie Gast, Mary Padberg, Danielle Sanfelice, Lauren Smith.
Good afternoon. My name is Kamillah Connelly, and I'm a Vice Chair for the Associates 2020 program. I had the pleasure of serving as a team mentor for the Quarantine team, who partnered with the Customer Experience Community of Interest to provide a case study for our group. To speak more about the topic, I'd like to introduce you to Thomas Krieger.
The Quarantine, which is made up of myself, Thomas Krieger, Jacka Flynn, Sydney Hodges, Caroline Scheip, Taylor Seville, and Zainab Abulaban. We represented the customer experience COI, so naturally, given the state of our COVID world today, we wanted to focus our project on how COVID has impacted customer experience across government and industry. Our esteemed panel of 4 consisted of Melvin Brown from the Small Business Administration, Bailey Ashby from the Treasury Department, Christina Mosi from Devis, and Stephen Love from Solburst. Our objective was to discuss experiences, lessons learned, and best practices to better understand how adjusting to our new normal has impacted customer experience and customer relationships. Some key discussion highlights: remote work is increasing availability and productivity, but it's also impacting mental health and hours worked. Asynchronous collaboration circumvents time and space constraints. Leveraging new and existing technology helps maintain positive customer experience and relationships. And ultimately, COVID has impacted every person and every company, and it's the internal and external adjustments that we make that are going to reshape how we approach customer relationships. Thanks again to all who attended and or listened or watched the recording. Quarantine out.
Thank you, Thomas. Now it's my pleasure to introduce you to the graduates of Quarantine from the Associates 2020 class: Zainab Abulaban, Jacqueline Flynn, Sydney Hodges, Thomas Krieger, Taylor Seville, Carolyn Scheip.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Wood, and I am a Government Vice Chair for the 2020 Associates class. I served as the team mentor to Team Techcellence. And this year, Team Techcellence partnered with the Emerging Technology Community of Interest to host a panel discussion on the implications of ethics and bias in AI. As the government chair of the Emerging Technology Community of Interest, I'm extremely grateful for their efforts as it brings attention to our new white paper on ethical application of AI. To speak a bit more about the project, I'd like to introduce you to Grant Jones.
I'm Grant Jones. I work at Juniper Networks on the DoD team. For our team's associate project, we worked with the COI to put together a presentation kind of launching some research that was done on artificial intelligence in the government. So we worked as a team to put together a front-end event, kind of like a launch party, and it was a lot of fun. We got to work with some high-level government and industry leaders on the subject and just kind of dive into artificial intelligence, how it's being used, and it was a very beneficial event for all.
Thank you, Grant. It is now my pleasure to announce the graduates from Team Texcellence. Nika De Leos, Tabisa Wright, Grant Jones, and Shannon Pernetta.
Hi, my name is Pawla Ghaleb, and I'm a vice chair for the 2020 Associates class. I served as the team mentor to the fabulous Acquisociates team. This year, the Acquisociates team partnered with the acquisition community of interest, hence the name Acquisociates. They partnered with them on a case study where they investigated the various impacts of COVID-19 on federal acquisitions. To speak a bit more about the project, I'd love to introduce to you Chris Robinson, who will provide you with an overview of the research paper that the team put together.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm representing Team Acquisociates. We worked with the acquisition community of interest. We did a research project and produced a white paper delving into the CARES Act, looking for kind of flexibilities or maybe new acquisition authorities that would help agencies better acquire PPE and maybe solve some of the shortages that we were experiencing across the country. In developing our recommendations, wherein we interviewed members of the ACT-IACT community and combined various points of research, we eventually kind of realized that these shortages were mostly due to the structural factors inherent within our supply chain. Agencies were making use of their emergency acquisition flexibilities, but by the time they placed their orders, there was just nothing left to buy. It was about access to data and access to markets. Agencies that could kind of conduct those wide-reaching research or explore sort of unorthodox acquisition strategies, they were at a greater advantage than those that were tied to a single source or supply chain. And we also experienced and really couldn't predict kind of the whole pandemic pivot across the federal government as the workforce moved to telework. And the onus came onto IT to support that. No longer did you need to acquire PPE to protect people in offices. Those offices were empty. So how can you kind of ensure that your agency is able to procure the appropriate items to respond to maybe the next pandemic? Well, as our recommendations infer, and you can read them all out in our white paper, there's really no easy answer. But having those clear market insights, an awareness of what strategies can be conducted virtually, and a strong IT backbone that permits flexible application of technology, those all appear to be advantageous qualities in a post-COVID world. Once again, thank you so much to the ACT-IACT community for guiding us on this journey. We learned a lot.
Thank you, Chris. It is now my utmost pleasure to announce the graduates from the Acquisociates team. Elijah Biggs, Lillian Idell, Alexandra Plante, Chris Robinson, and Latoya Queener. Congratulations, team.
Good afternoon. My name is Jay Houghton, and I'm the government chair for the 2020 Associates class. This year, the Fab 5 team partnered with the Evolving the Workforce Community of Interest on a project on the impact of COVID-19 on the remote work and employee engagement. To speak a bit more about the project, I'd like to introduce Fiona Sityar.
Hi, my name is Fiona Sityar, and I'm a member of the Fab 5. Over the course of our program, our case study explored the impact of COVID-19 on the workplace and employee engagement. Not only was this topic relevant to the overall business environment, each of us were also able to relate our study back to our own work experiences. In particular, we focused on 4 main areas: employee engagement in the workforce, training and development, rewards and recognition, and talent management and recruitment. As part of our research, we conducted a local survey across government and private industry, which allowed for a comprehensive review of multiple perspectives. We found that the common thread that tied organizations together was the emphasis on employee health, safety, and well-being when implementing new business practices in response to the pandemic. Leadership has continued to adapt in all areas, allowing for sustained growth, development, and attraction and retention of business and talent. This adaptability, combined with intentional engagement practices, are anticipated to have lasting positive effects both now and in the future.
Thank you, Fiona. It is now my pleasure to announce the graduates from the Fab 5 team. Nicole Mahmoudi, Kristen Medley, Patrick Nicholson, Josh Shoemaker, and Fiona Sityar. Congratulations, Fab 5 team.
Good afternoon. My name is Anne-Marie Bryant, and I'm the Vice Chair for the 2020 Associates class. I was so fortunate to have the opportunity to serve as the team mentor to our amazing bubonics team for this year. Our team partnered with the Health Community of Interest on a case study around the history of telehealth and the increase in the use of telehealth during the COVID pandemic. To talk a little bit more about that project, I'd like to introduce one of our associates this year, Neslie Christofferson.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. My name is Neslie Christofferson, and I'm a growth operations analyst at GDIT. As Anne-Marie mentioned, our team partnered with the Health COI to organize a panel discussion for their September meeting. It was an interesting year to be talking about the way federal health agencies are providing care. So we chose telehealth as our topic, with an emphasis on the accelerated transition to telehealth in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Our panelists were a mix of both government and industry leaders, and our team member, Maddie McMorrow, was the moderator. Following the panel, we wrote a white paper summarizing the insights on the current and future state of telehealth shared during the event, as well as research conducted by our team. The paper will be published in spring of 2021. On behalf of our team, I would like to thank our mentor, Anne-Marie, for her guidance and leadership, as well as Becky, Jay, and the entire Associates leadership team for their support throughout this year. And of course, a huge thank you to Chelsea and Leslie. You were able to pivot the program in such a way that made the experience extremely beneficial and enjoyable. Our team is grateful to be a part of the 2020 Associates graduating class.
Thank you, Neslie. It's now my pleasure to announce the graduates from the bubonics team. Neslie Christofferson, Jennifer Gerard, Taylor Hall, Grace Halsey, Maddie McMorrow, and Keenan Moore. Congratulations to the best 2020 Associates team.